Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the one and only podcast, Lights, Camera, Discussion. I'm joined here today by, of course, my co hosts, Collective Unit and Todorov. Guys, how are we doing today? We all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm all good. Todd is awake, aren't you? As soon as you came on the call, you were sprightly and ready for action.
There or thereabouts. As awake as I'll ever be. Ready to go.
Oh gosh. Well, at least if you're awake now, that's good enough for me. Right, okay, let us get into the episode. Today we're talking about Mr. Steve McQueen. It was the choice of our very own Collective Unit. So, Collie, if you'd like to take it away.
Yep. Sir Steve McQueen is a British film director, screenwriter, and visual artist. He's gained a reputation for directing films that are hard hitting, intense, and uncompromising in their messages. None of his films are on the exact same subject matter, but most ask questions in an intellectual and unique way.
Very succinctly put. I love it. I love it.
I
Okay.
actually wrote some of that. I wasn't even like just direct off Wikipedia. I wrote a little bit. The last sentence is mainly a dig at some of the films, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I think I know which film you're talking about. Well, let us get into this show and start talking about the film. So the first film we're going to be talking about today is Hunger. So it's the story of Bobby Sands, the IRA member who led the 1981 hunger strike during the Troubles, in which Irish Republican prisoners tried to win political status. So first thoughts on this film, Collie. What was your first thoughts watching Hunger?
So this wasn't a first watch for me. It was the main reason I chose Steve McQueen. I guess it's kind of in the zeitgeist at the moment with Kneecap coming out this year and stuff. Quite a lot of talk of the United Ireland, etc. And for me, we'll get on to Michael Fassbender, but it's a career best performance by him in this for me. Super intense. Really well done from an artist perspective. You can kind of tell that Steve McQueen prior to this was a visual artist, put on various exhibitions and stuff, and it's just got a very important message, I think, through it. And again, we'll probably get onto like the message that the film shows, but I don't think it's a pro one side film. It shows both sides of the coin.
Absolutely, Todd.
Yeah, it was a first watch for me, and something that I know about, like the topic itself, but not in the depth I think that the film showed. And it's like performances were amazing, but I don't think this is a film of performances, if that makes sense. For me, I got a lot more from the surrounding elements of it that obviously we'll get into. Can't say I enjoyed it. I think that would be like a theme through like a lot of his films, is that like you didn't enjoy them as such, like, but it was an incredible watch, absolutely phenomenal.
Good stuff. Yeah, for me, I don't think I'd seen it before, but I'd seen like things from it before, if that makes sense. Like during the time, I think I'd seen like Fassbender's physicality, like whether it was pictures or seeing like snippets from the film and things. I never actually sat down and watched it all. So it was, I take it as a first watch, but it was spectacular, like on every level, from the performances and for me the main thing was the technical stuff, how it was made, and like the cinematography and stuff as well. But yeah, we'll get into it, but I thought it was incredible, like a really good film, definitely. Right, okay, so what we normally do is kind of go into sort of nitty gritty about like things like the performances and stuff as well. I mean, let's start on the main guy, Mr. Fassbender as Bobby Sands. What was your thoughts on his sort of performance as the main character then, Collie?
So it's interesting. He's not shown until I think it's the 26th or 27th minute in the film, and it's not like, oh my god, here's Bobby Sands. It's just like, here's another prisoner, and he gets his hair chopped off and stuff like that. And it's not revealed, I don't think, until the conversation with his parents that you like. Obviously, going into the film that Michael Fassbender's playing him, but in terms of the context of the film, it's not explained to you until the conversation with his parents, and they're asking him how he is and stuff like that. And its parents obviously appear a handful of times through the film, and they are kind of very supportive of what he's doing. I guess I'll talk first about the physicality of Fassbender, kind of I think brings you back to Christian Bale in The Machinist type. He was on a there's a little bit on the Wikipedia about it, and he was on a special diet of less than 900 calories a day for 10 weeks. He settled on a diet, so it was all medically supervised. That was the main thing that I think Steve McQueen and then the production team wanted, was like, obviously you want to reflect the physicality and show the starving as part of the hunger strike. He was on a diet of berries, nuts, and sardines. Underwent periodic medical checks. He skipped, did yoga, and walked 4.5 miles a day. But he said it did affect his sleeping and stopped him from seeing friends. But one thing about the experience that he said, it made him feel grateful and strong. So again, back to Kneecap. He plays a provisional IRA member in that as well. So it's obviously something that he believes in and wants to be reflected in film and put out there as a message and stuff. I guess the main scene, we could probably look back to after we discuss some of the performances, but the 17 minutes almost, or 17 minutes 10 seconds scene with him and the priest in the prison, that single shot is just incredible. And he and Liam Cunningham, Liam Cunningham, who plays the priest, they moved in together and were practicing it like 12 to 15 times a day, and I think they nailed it on the 4th or 5th take. Which is unbelievable, and it's such an interesting conversation because you feel, or I felt, that they've had that conversation before, or like there was enough familiarity in the kind of talking to each other at first. Obviously, they delve into each other's backgrounds and that, like they don't know each other maybe until this conversation, but it feels like the priest is just, this is my last attempt to save this guy's life kind of thing, but Bobby's just like, no. And one of the quotes I've got noted down is, I have my belief, and in all its simplicity, that is the most powerful thing. So it's just amazing. Just amazing. And not only that scene, but the scene when it cuts to Bobby and he's telling the story when he was going for, was it a Gaelic football tournament, I think?
Yeah.
And the story with the foal and having to put down the foal with a broken leg and stuff. It's just Michael Fassbender, like that's it. That's all you're seeing. It's just him like regaling this while smoking a singular cigarette. Iconic. But anyway, sorry, I've kind of talked about the whole thing. But Todd, what were your thoughts on Fassbender?
The thing that stood out for me was the full story. Like, obviously, the writing's amazing. You know, I wrote down 45 minutes just as like a rough estimate, without any consistent dialogue, without any sort of like, any back and forth. Then you've got, like you say, 17 minutes of just two people talking, cutting to one person talking. It could be a lot, and I think he delivers it so well. Like, you believe every single beat of it. I love how quietly angry he is through the whole thing. Like, you can see it in his face that, like you say, that belief's there the entire time. For me, it was that. Again, he's done really well with the weight loss and stuff, but the actual physicality, the way that he moves, looks painful. Like, I don't know how difficult it was for him to be, like, his movement and stuff, but you just felt that sort of like that his muscles were giving up on him, his body was giving up on him type thing. You felt it, and I thought that was amazing. But as well, just like the sort of, there wasn't any weakness in the performance as well. I think that could be, easy to kind of slip into, but it was that strength the entire way through. We'll talk about him a couple of times in this, but he's not underrated in the sense that when you go, what do you think of Michael Fassbender? And everyone's like, yeah, he's fantastic, but nobody would go, who's in that top level, who's in that, and I think he is at that top level. And from, what was this, 2008, was it?
Yeah.
2008. Like, even from back then to now, he's still putting in consistent performances. Just fantastic. Massey?
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely unbelievable. I think, as you say, it's when he's talking as Bobby Sands, saying about how he's got his beliefs. Like, you can almost feel that that's Fassbender as well. Like, he's almost personally invested as well as playing this sort of character, sort of investing in the cause, I suppose. Not obviously to the to the lengths that Bobby Sands went through, but he obviously has strong pro feelings towards it. You're right, Todd. The physicality when he's in the bed, like towards the end and stuff, and like you can see like his ribs and like the lesions on him, and even like the chapness of his lips and the sort of like blank stare that he gives, like it's a masterclass performance without having to give us exposition or give us dialogue or deliver lines in a certain way. It's just, as I say, he almost embodies the character, and it's like, from watching his performances, and we'll kind of talk about some of the other performances in some other Steve McQueen's films, but like for me, like this is like the best I've seen Fassbender. I just think it's absolutely unbelievable, and yeah, fair play to him for living on sardines and stuff, because
That's the worst bit about it.
Yeah, that's the worst bit. Yeah, absolutely, the sardines. Yeah, I thought he was unbelievable. Just so good, so good.
Just
Right.
on his, before
Yeah.
we move on his performance, just like when you were saying about like the shot in the bed, it kind of works with the cinematography and the writing and stuff, but at no point did I feel like sorry for him. At no point did I didn't think there was any point where you had to feel sympathy for him because there was like a movement. Does that make sense? Like, that's not me being horrible. I'm not being like, I'm trying to explain myself properly.
The English guys.
I was going to say,
please don't go down that route.
The English guy not feeling sorry for Bobby Sands. Shock.
No, like the whole way through, I was looking and being like, this guy has a purpose, and like at no point is it sort of like, oh, bless him. Like, it was always that he was the one who had the power. So when they put the food down next to the bed, which is one of the most cruel shots, like there's some horrible shots in this film, but for me that was one of the most cruel, was seeing him like completely just emaciated and then that food next to him, and for him to look at it and the way that the look that he gives and then looks away, it was kind of like, again, it's not appropriate to be like a fist pump, it's not like a gladiator sort, but like in the same way, it was like that moment of like, he's took the power. He was phenomenal. Sorry, just thought I'd get that last
No,
bit.
absolutely. It's like martyrdom, isn't it? Like, he was like the sort of the driving force in that sort of movement and stuff. So yeah, no, totally get it. So yeah, anyone who's listening and watching, please don't turn this into a political thing about Todd, please.
I
thought in choosing Steve McQueen, I was like, it's going to be a difficult conversation to have without making it political, because it's a very political film. But it's yeah, like you say, it's just the power of the performance, whether you agree with it or not, and whether you agree that he's doing a thing that he should be doing, or encouraging a thing that he should be encouraging is one thing, but just from a pure power perspective, it's just the strength of mind to do something like that. And I think like that is, well, I guess speaking for Michael Fassbender, but I guess like knowing that about Bobby Sands and knowing what he went through, then Fassbender was like, well, if he can actually do it, and I want to portray the power and the strength of mind to do it, then I have a strength of mind to eat sardines.
Yeah.
Whereas Massey would be like, fuck that.
Yeah, he's
That's
a bigger
why
man than
Fassbender
me.
is Michael Fassbender and Massey is Massey. You could do Massey. You could be a famous movie star and portray all these very interesting characters and stuff like that. But you have to eat sardines for 10 weeks.
Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. No, you couldn't pay me
You
all
can
the
get
money.
married to Alicia Vikander if you eat sardines.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Oh, me. Moving on to the next sort of not the main character, but a big part of it is, as we spoke about, Liam Cunningham as the father and the father in a religious sense, not the father of Bobby Sands. And as we spoke about, obviously the 17-minute uncut scene is the sort of like main centerpiece of the film, I suppose, or one of the main centerpieces of the film. What do you think about him when he came in and kind of touched on the fact that him and Michael Fassbender stayed together and went through the sort of the whole scene, all the back and forth between the two of them. But what were your thoughts on the rest of that that part of the performance and the rest of his performance then, Collie?
I thought it was powerful as well. I think it was a really good back and forth it was such a passive aggressive conversation. Like one of the quotes that I've got is when Liam Cunningham, the father, Moran says, "Life must mean nothing to you," And then Bobby Sands is like, oh, what, God's going to punish me? And then he says, well, if not just for suicide, then you'd have to punish you for your stupidity. Because like, it's one that like halfway through the conversation, I'm like, oh, he gets it, but he just can't support it as a religious man or like a father. But then later on, I'm like, nah, he actually doesn't agree with this at all. And he's just purely not even tried to save Bobby, I think, but like tried to just save others from being influenced by Bobby, because there's the conversation, or the start of the conversation when he's saying like, you could have been a priest because you're so, a powerful speaker and enigmatic guy and stuff. So he realizes like how powerful Bobby is to influence the other people that are working alongside him and stuff. So he's like trying to, he sees maybe Bobby as a lost cause, but he's trying to say, just don't take these guys with you, kind of thing. But no, just fantastic. Just some of the quips that he's saying about smoking the Bible and what's the best book to smoke and stuff like that. So it's quite comedic at times, but it's like deadly serious as well. Like when he's gone on about his brother, he's like, and it's how much he curses as well. I thought was quite funny. I guess Irish, but it just as a religious guy, he's just like effing and jeffing and calling his brother a dick and stuff like that. No, I thought he was great, and I've not seen him in much apart from Game of Thrones that I can think of anyway. But in Game of Thrones, he's quite a principled, powerful character, and I think it's very reflective of what he's done in this. So I thought he was class. And just even like, because there was one watch of the scene, because there's a video on YouTube like script to screen, and it shows you the script like in part of the screen as they're performing it. So I watched that a couple of times, and I was watching him for some of it when Bobby was talking, like of the single shot of them both, and he just doesn't like waver for a second. They fully live in the scene. I thought it was fantastic. Todd, anything stand out for you from Liam Cunningham?
Yeah, it was more that like he's got this really stoic look about him and could have made that conversation entirely dour, and I think it isn't. Like you say, there's some like comedic moments to it. Like I think the pace of it keeps it alive, and that's obviously down to the performance. The writing's fantastic, but it takes them to kind of keep that going. And like you say, just that sort of, it's just the back and forth between them. I know it's Michael Fassbender's line, like that kills it, but it's where'd you get the energy? I was a cross country runner as a boy, like, so it's like that sort of like, and his face doesn't change when he says it. The priest's face just doesn't change, and I thought that was fantastic. But it's like you can feel. I had no clue about them living together, but you can feel that. You can feel that like they've got that relationship. They've got that sort of. And it doesn't take a lot of trust to sit across from each other and deliver lines, but like they've got that trust that the other one's going to deliver it at the pace that they need it. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Flows.
Like,
it just flows exactly like you say. It's the pacing of it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but like you say, I think it is that like the cultural level of like because they're Irish and the way that they speak is absolutely like that keeps that sort of. It's not comedy at all. Like it through it, but it's that attitude that they've both got that they want to sort of get each other's point across. And I think I got that he knew he was beat from walking in. Like he knows Bobby Sant, he knows who he is, he knows what he's going to be about, and you got that, but he still wanted to put his point across. He still wanted to get that, and I think that's why it wasn't a sort of dour conversation. And Liam Cunningham did it perfectly. Massey?
Yeah, not much more to add on that. I do just think that it was like such an interesting sort of performance in that, like you said, Collie, during the conversation, you're almost pulled both ways by what his stance is. And I think for a performance to be able to, and again, part of the writing, of course, but for a performance to be able to keep you guessing as to where he is when you're thinking, he does see Bobby's part of it, like side of it, but then he also doesn't as a religious sort of person and stuff. I just think for you to come away from that scene with those sort of like feelings of doubt, I think is a testament to performance. I thought it was a really, really well-run performance by Mr. Cunningham.
Just a couple more things on the conversation, because we're probably maybe not going to talk about it again, but I just felt that. So that one other bit that I noted down was when they're talking about Jesus and the thief that was next to him. So Bobby Sands always felt that that thief next to Jesus got off lightly. Father, but he recognised his sins. Bobby Sands, did he though? Father, he said as much. And then Bobby's like, well, when you're hung from a cross, you're going to say anything. Jesus offers him a seat next to his daddy in a place called Paradise. You're always going to put your hand up and have a piece of that. And it was that, and it was like the full story, and it was everything. So one thing I didn't realize before this, and I did a little bit of research into Bobby Sands. He was 27 when he died. Like, he speaks as if he's a guy that's like in his 40s with his life experience and stuff like that, because he was involved in the rebellion, or whatever you want to class it as, from when he was like 17, 18, and he'd experienced all the stuff that he talks about in the full story, but even stuff out with that. As a youth and being ostracized by being a Catholic in a Protestant area, etc. So he's lived this for what feels like a lifetime, but he's only 27, and I just think like he must be so like staunch in his views and like just so like secure in his views that he must run through a million times in his head, like, well, if somebody says this to me, well, you know, is this right because of this? And then he already has a retort in his head. It's again, it's that flow of the conversation. It's as if he's had that conversation with loads of other priests as well. They've went, oh, this is suicide. He's like, no, I'm just like, I know what I want and stuff like that. And it's just good. There was one of it wasn't a cliche line at the start, but I was just like, oh yeah. It was when he comments on having him Bobby's got a black eye, and Bobby's like, oh, you should have seen the other guy. I thought that was a bit like, not cliche, but just like, I guess, overused. But it just was one of those things that maybe was like an A line instead of like an A++ line, which is the rest of the script or whatever. Yeah, and then just the final line. I'm clear of the reasons, Dom. I'm clear of all the repercussions. I will act and I will not stand by and do nothing. It's just so principled, and whether you agree with it or not, we're not really delving into that on this. But just the delivery of the line, which is purely what we're trying to focus on, is like just says it with chest, to use that expression.
Absolutely. And I would say, obviously, me and you, Collie, we're not going to delve into whether we agree with it or not, but Todd obviously already has. So
I have made no such statement. Don't be putting me on there.
Oh, me. So the rest of the cast, it's kind of more sort of like a sort of subtle performance, I believe, from them. But certainly one guy that stood out for me was the officer, Stuart Graham. I thought like him being the other side of the coin kind of thing. Obviously he is not in it for a bit of it towards sort of the middle towards the end, but yeah, for seeing like that other side of the coin, I thought was super interesting as well. Like seeing the stuff that he has to kind of go through, like certainly right at the start, checking under the car for like obviously bombs and stuff like that. That for me was like such a kind of quite a hard hitting start, because it's such a suburban sort of street, but he has to like check under his car to make sure that he's not going to be killed, and then obviously almost like sort of like fighting with the thoughts when he's cleaning his fist after almost beating a man to like to unconsciousness. I thought his performance was really interesting as the kind of yin to Fassbender's yang, I suppose. But Collie, what were your thoughts on Stuart Graham as the officer?
Yeah, I thought it was good. So just on the looking under your car for the bomb thing, some of the reviews on IMDb that I was reading and various other places, a lot of people were like, "Oh, like this film doesn't really give you context. You're supposed to like go in with like a prior knowledge of what they're striking for and stuff." And I agree to that extent, but I think like Steve McQueen just doesn't spoon feed it. Like the sprinklings of Thatcher throughout it and stuff, and even if you've got a loose understanding of that they want a united Ireland, but there's British people there and stuff. So like you can understand it to an extent. I thought he was really good. I thought just he was quite an isolated character, but then there's the scene like right at the beginning when him or another officer is like telling jokes, and like it just seems over the top and exaggerated. And then it was more of a McQueen thing than a performance from Graham, but you get shown him soaking his hands in the ice and the water and stuff, and then you don't get the context until like 35 minutes later or whatever. And as soon as Bobby ducks and he punches the wall, they're like, oh, that's why he has to do that. But it feels almost like there's a familiarity to him doing it. He's done it before. He's hurt his hand before and had to ice it. Maybe not by just punching a wall, but by punching a prisoner and stuff. And obviously just out of the blue, he's visiting his mum and then gets murdered. Is kind of McQueen showing the two sides to the cruelty coin of the conflict. Todd, anything stand out for you?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't as much. I mean, his performance was good. I'm not, taking anything away, but I do think it was like a physicality thing, number one, and it was a McQueen thing, number two. I love that they started the film with him. That, like, he's getting ready, he's driving his car, all this mundane shit, but also he has to check under his car for a bomb. Like, that it's just, that's part and parcel of every day for him.
Yeah, the shot of his wife watching him drive away and stuff like that. Like, she must do that like every day, worrying, like what's going to happen to him and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was like, again, it's not Steve McQueen spoon feeding you. It's like, it's you putting the pieces together that go on. This is day however many. It's definitely not day one, and it's definitely not the last day. It's somewhere in the middle. That's just going to keep happening over and over again, and it's a normal thing for him. And I love the shot of it. It was very Blade Runner 2049. You know where Ryan Gosling's like laid on the stairs and it's snowing and he's like battered. I got that sort of like, because obviously this is a first watch for me, so that was the impression I got, was like when he stood against the wall smoking his tab, and he's like just completely and utterly defeated, whether that's morally, whether that's physically, mentally, whatever. Like, you just got that from him, which was really good. But again, I didn't. There wasn't a sort of this is or feel sorry for him, and I don't think he had any power either. But it was just this is a fact of life here. Just on the shooter as well, just because I know that's not a big performance or anything. That whole thing rocked me. Like, I think it was that whole scene just absolutely took me by surprise. The confidence of the shooter, like his physicality, the way he walked in was just, and then his mum still sat there, was one of the was another killer. Like, so it's just Steve McQueen going, this is a horrible part of life. So is that, like, just piling it on. Yeah. On top of the rest of it. But yeah, he was very good, but I do think a lot of it was down to the direction and the writing.
Perfect.
I say
yeah, any other performances you want to chat about? I know, again, as it was kind of like more like the younger guys coming in and sort of like doing a lot without saying much and stuff as well. But was there anything else that stood out to you guys, like actor wise, or do you want to start discussing cinematography and stuff? What do you think?
I guess like you could touch on is it Davy Gillen's the first guy that goes in? So like the interaction between him and the other prisoner in the first half an hour of the film's just interesting, I guess, because it's giving you context to what they're going through. Like, one of them like was just really embarrassed because like the other guys, he just comes in, the guy's just rubbing shit on the wall and stuff, and he's like, what the fuck is this? But he quickly gets on board because he's a full believer in what they're doing and stuff. So I thought that was good, just to give a bit of context, similar to how Stuart Graham as the prison officer was just giving context, but he wasn't giving like a name or anything like that, particularly like a clear name. And it's the same as you found out Davy Gillen's name when he was getting checked into the prison, but after that they just become facilitators for your understanding of either side. But no, nothing else really. And I guess if we're going on to cinematography, it's not so much of the performance, but it's the shot of the prison guards and then the guy like on the other side of the wall crying because he couldn't handle it, obviously. So yeah, no, I'm good to run through a couple of shots. That being one of them, or that scene being one of them. I guess would be when they're running the gauntlet, and the noise, the sound of them hitting their shields and stuff like that. Was brutal, but the guys knew what was coming and they were being forced, like I say, to run that. But from a shot perspective, I thought it was really good. I don't know about in the context of the film, did it really need to be showing the guy crying on the other side of the wall? I don't know. I didn't really garner any sympathy for the guy from that. I don't know if that was what McQueen was after, or if he was just showing either side, but for me, in that instance, I was like, well, you're kind of reaping what you sow. If you sign up to be a prison guard where loads of the provisional IRA members are, and you know that you're going to get to beat them because you get free reign on it, then it is what it is, kind of thing. And that's as much as like not taking sides or anything like that, but I guess that's a kind of one side's got the power and one side doesn't. It's not. I'm not taking a side of like the IRA or the unionist side of things, but it's just I've got very little sympathy for people that are in power, but then feel like that's got a psychological effect on them, or like obviously Stuart Graham's character gets killed and stuff. I'm just kind of like, well, you've signed up to be a prison guard. You know the prison guards are getting killed, or you know this and this and this. It's like you have to do that, yeah, as a job. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's loads of other jobs. you have to be somewhat twisted, I think, to do that. And we'll touch on that a little bit more in 12 Years a Slave. There's one of the characters that speaks about if you're an overseer of slaves day in, day out, then it's going to take a toll on you. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're the overseer, so like I give a shit kind of thing, you know. Just to say that, like, I don't know why McQueen. I didn't really understand why McQueen, if it was purely just a pictorial thing of like this is what these guys go through. But as a viewer, I'm just like, oh well, tough shit. Like you've just beaten up people with a nightstick and you're in full guard and they're naked, you know, or they're in rags.
Yeah. No, yeah. I completely agree. That was one of the things that stood out for me as well. It's like I feel like it's more powerful to show us the other side of the coin when it's like Stuart Graham's character, where he is almost not accepting of what he's doing, but he's like how it's a part of life. Like that other side of the coin for me is more effective than crocodile tears, I suppose. Yeah, no, I totally agree. That was one of the things that I had a bit of issue with, I suppose. But no, I completely agree with your points there.
I don't have an issue with it being in the film, but I just didn't really. If I'm supposed to have got like sympathy for the hunger strikers, but then this is the sympathy for the prison guards, I didn't quite get that feeling. But I don't know if McQueen put it in there for that, or if it was purely for you know, this is what some of these guys are going through. Feel what you want about it, and I guess that's what he was doing with the hunger strikers as well. He's like, this is what they're doing, whether you agree with it or not, or whether you feel sorry for them, Todd, or not. It's just one thing.
Yeah. For me, I think if you'd have put it at the beginning of the film, like a prison guard crying or whatever, and like had showed his backstory and then tried to garner sympathy in that sense, in that like this is a human being who's doing these things and then I'd be like, that's a piece of shit move. That you've got somebody who's in power in full riot gear, that's a top level piece of shit move. Whereas this, like, I was with you, I was like, I don't feel anything for him. Fuck him. Like, this is what you've chosen. And like you said, it's not as if, you know, there aren't other options other than beating people. Even if you were in that job and you looked at it and one day went, do you know what? Actually, this is fucking disgusting and I don't want anything to do with that. Like, but, you know, yeah, I think if it had happened earlier in the film, and we hadn't seen the plight of, like, you know, the prisoners and stuff, and like the people who were on, then I think it would have been a bit of a different question. But I do think it, for me, it was just a case of going like you say, this is what is happening. There were some people who maybe struggled morally with what they were doing, and then you have to make that decision. And I think largely the decision will be fuck them.
Fair enough. Is that who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the prison guards. I'm talking about the prison guards. I'm not enjoying this line of questioning.
It was a test. It was a test for the Englishman.
Did I pass?
Get him.
So I think we've gone a little bit longer than we probably would thought. But was there anything else you guys would talk about in terms of hunger and you know, Steve McQueen?
Just one or two more shots. Yep. The shots of the hallway with the liquid coming out at the bottom of the cell doors. I thought that was really good because it was a prolonged shot, and then the prolonged shot at the other end of the film with the guy cleaning the floor. And it went on for ages, even at like 1.5 times. I was like, oh my God, this is going for ages. And then one iconic shot was the shit circle. I thought that was class. When they were power washing the cells, but the guy had made like art out of his poo. I thought that was quite funny. Not funny, but like I was just like, oh, that's interesting.
Have you tried that since as well? Or?
No.
Fair enough.
I don't think Gabby would let
me. Todd, anything else you want to talk about?
The two that Colin mentioned there were amazing. I thought the tunnel with the beating of the shields. Like, I know we touched on it, but like the sound on that was amazing. But even just the cinematography that the way that like you go through it with them. I thought that was amazing. And it's not so much the cinematography, but just to give a sort of idea of where these lads' heads are at was the scene where he's trying to have a wank in the cell, and like he's got the most crumpled up picture that you can't see really what it is. He's in a cell covered in shit. It must stink, and then he's got his mate there. Like I just it was desperate was
And
the
he was
only word.
also
And
the fact he's also kind of coy about it as well. Like you're like thinking like why like you're trying to hide from your pal who you're like you want to have a wank in front of or try to hide that from, but like you're like you say it's a cell covered in shit and like you guys have been through everything, but that is where you draw the line is like
that's the thing that you want to hide.
Was that not a Catholic guilt thing though? Because they're not supposed to do it.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh
That's
yeah,
how
yeah,
I read it because they're not allowed to do that.
Oh,
so.
it could be. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I thought it was okay as long as you don't use contraception and stuff. I don't know.
Or maybe it just makes you go blind. I don't know. That's what I was told.
Or hairy palms, isn't it?
I just read that as more of a Catholic guilt kind of thing.
It could be. As I say, I didn't know that was a thing. To be honest, I'm not Catholic, so.
Quickly Google it. I'm Catholic's wank.
Well, yeah.
Not on your work PC.
No. I'll put it on the Twitter. I'll put it on Twitter. Oh gosh. Right, back to films. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I think we kind of covered quite a bit of that.
I guess one more thing about the kind of either side was the guy, the big orderly that looked after him at the end and picked him up when he collapsed out the bath. They had UDA tattooed on their knuckles, like Ulster Defence something, whatever it is, maybe. But like they are paramilitary side of the Unionist side. I just thought that it was quite a powerful image of him carrying like Bobby Sands as a skeleton, essentially. I thought that was quite powerful. And I thought McQueen in the epilogue, he says that like Bobby Sands died after 66 days, became an MP. Strike was called off, but then he also mentioned that a further 9 men started to death. But then in the next sentence, 16 prison officers were murdered. So he does like factually state that both sides were losing men, I guess you could say, and women.
Absolutely.
And I'm good to score it when you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Collie, this is your choice. So how about you take us away first? What was your score for Hunker?
It's a 5-star for me.
Todd?
Yeah, 5 stars for me as well.
It's 4.5 for me, but I think it's like it's one of those again that could easily be a 5-star on a rewatch stuff. So yeah, fantastic, excellent. I'm glad we all enjoyed that. Right, okay. So let us move on to the next film by Steve McQueen, which is Shame. So Brandon, a 30-something man living in New York, eludes intimacy with women but feeds his deepest desires with a compulsive addiction to sex. When his younger sister temporarily moves to his apartment, stirring up bitter memories of their shared painful past, Brandon's life, like his fragile mind, gets out of control. Okie doke. First thoughts, Collie.
A powerful film about a completely different topic. Another Michael Fassbender strong performance, conveys emotions from all ends of, like, from both ends of the spectrum, from joy to kind of absolute despair, which we'll get into as we get further into the film. But no, super strong from him, super strong from Michelle as well. I thought overall really, really good, and it was actually good to see the guy. Is it Dale? Is it Dale's his surname?
James Badge
James Dale.
He plays his boss. He's always like in bit parts of films, but he was quite prominent in this one. I say it was probably one of my favorite performances of him because I've not seen him in much that he gets a lot to do, whereas I thought in this was a bit more involved. So some strong performances from the main actors, and again just a Steve McQueen film with just loads of nice shots as well. It just kind of backs up again like he's a visual artist prior to this, and that's been brought through to his films.
Absolutely. Todd?
Yeah, first watch, like I'd never even heard of this before. I didn't know it existed until we'd gone through these. I'm not spoiling ratings because I rate on like objectively best films, but I would say that this is my favourite Steve McQueen film. Like this is the one that I'll go back and rewatch. The others are a bit more of a hard watch, but I could go back and rewatch this a few times. Just amazing filmmaking. None of it, although it's a film that's like centered around sex, none of it is in any way, shape, or form sexy. It's all like desperate and horrible, but amazing. And like you say, it great performances all around. But another Fassbender masterclass again. Masty.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about the sex because there was a letterbox review that just summed up perfectly for me. The least sexiest movie about sex that's ever been made. Like that was just absolutely perfect. It's great. It's a fantastic film. It's not about sex. Well, it is about sex, obviously, but it's more about like the addiction side of things that I thought that was a really powerful way of sort of doing it, and showing how addiction has a hold over people. Yeah, I thought it was great. And as you say, centered around Fassbender, like to do Hunger and then Shame, two completely different sort of performances, but kind of almost like share the same sort of thing, like a sort of a strong mind for like a cause. Obviously this cause was about getting pumped and pumping as much as he could. But yeah, I thought he was absolutely fantastic in this. I thought it was like that. The main thing for me was watching Fassbender's performance. I thought it was just incredible. You're right, Tom.
Watching Fassbender's what? Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry. The when I said performance, I meant his penis. In fact, I think I sent a message to you guys in the chat, didn't I? I was like, I don't know why Collie chose Steve McQueen. I watched Shame for like 5 minutes. It was just Fassbender's dong, and I understood why.
The best one was Todd's tweet about that one with the kid walking past and he does like the double take and looks down. Did you see it, Massey? No,
I don't think so.
It's like me watching Shame, and it's the little kid with like the bowl cut or whatever, that gif, and he's just like looking, and he just like does the double take and does like the shocked face, like looking down. Yeah, I was like, that sums it up pretty perfectly. Perhaps Fassbender might replace Willem Dafoe as the penis mascot of the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we should have a penis off Willem Dafoe
Penis
versus
of the week.
Fassbender. Yeah, absolutely. Get your submissions in now, folks.
It just reminds me of the scene where was it in the office when Phyllis gets flashed, and then Dwight presents the folder of penises to Michael. He's like, "Have a look through these," and then Michael's like, "Are these your pants?" And Dwight's like, "Never mind."
Oh me, yeah. Disclaimer: don't send in pictures of your penis to us. Thank you very much. We've got enough of Fassbenders just now. So yeah, talk about Fassbender. Collie, do you want to take us away in his performance?
Yeah, just again powerful. He does so much with like his face. I think like he's got really like prominent eyes in his performance. It's all like you can tell whether he's like intense in it or sad or like happy or horny. In this film, for example, like it just a lot of it's facially from him, but I think in as much there was the physical of obviously being really skinny in Hunger, I think in this he's a bit more in shape and stuff, and he just gives away this confidence, and he's just, you can see why women are drawn to him and why he can live the life that he does. He's obviously a successful businessman of some, like, you know, I don't exactly know what his job is. I don't think they tell you, maybe, but he's obviously in this like powerful office, and he's even attracting women in the office. It's not just as if he's going out to bars and stuff, because obviously he goes on a date with the lady he works with and stuff. So he just exudes this charisma, or riz, as the kids would say. And the fact that he was his boss and tries to get with these women, and that's like atypical like alpha behavior. But then there is the shame side of things, which is when he's at home and he's watching the porn, and later on when his sister's in and she catches him and all that kind of stuff. There is that shameful side of things. And then later on in the film, he's so desperate to to fulfill his needs, fulfill his needs, and his gratification. Exactly. He goes to a male brothel, sex club, whatever you want to call it, and gets with a man. And that's with like no inclination or hint to, like, earlier in the film that he was bisexual. I don't even know if it was confirmed, like, if he is bisexual, or if that was purely just his sexual drive, I guess. to do it. So I thought it was good. I thought it was a brave performance from him, not just from getting his dick out and stuff, but just a very taboo subject. And as his star was rising, this is like when he started delving into like the Marvel films and stuff, and for him to take the time, not in like a patronizing way to Steve McQueen, but for him to do an arty kind of intense psychological film like this, I thought was quite brave where his career was at the time.
Absolutely. I think as well it shows, I think we've spoken before in other episodes about when there's like a director and actor combo and how the trust is there. It shows obviously the trust that Fassbender had in McQueen and vice versa to be able to take on this project and do something that is, as you say, as brave as or like as out there kind of thing as this, when some people start when their stars rising, they make these calculated moves. This was like I mean, obviously it was like a really good film, really good performance, and it's like almost like critically acclaimed his performance and stuff. But to actually take on that task to play in this, could have been one of those things that then resigned him to being like just an arty-farty actor for the rest of his time. But he had the trust in McQueen for it to be more than just that. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I think his performance was unbelievable. You're right. The fact that he ended up just going to like a gay club to get his rocks off. That for me was like a really interesting way of just showing that it's like it's transactional. It's not like a feelings based thing for him. He just has to get his gratification one way or another. And like say, even watching the porn in his like kitchen with a beer and a Chinese, and he's not like getting off to it as such. He's just staring at it, the screen like that. I thought it was like such an incredible, in Todd's words, like a show don't tell sort of performance. Like he could have easily been like
made it onto the second film without that being said. So well done.
And it wasn't Todd as well. Yeah, I thought
fuck, that's all my notes. Fuck.
Yeah, I thought just the performance like being like that in being such a subtle but also out there performance as well. I thought it was phenomenal from Fassbender. So Todd, why don't you show and not tell us what you thought?
I'll try my best. So when we talk about Fassbender's face, the not the end, close to the end, when he's having that threesome, and it zooms in on his face, that could have been the most cringeworthy shot in film history. Like, it could have been horrendous, and he sells that so well that it's like, again, he's not actually enjoying it. Like, physically, yes, he is, but like mentally, he's not there. And I thought that again was just him and his expression showing what he was. When Carey Mulligan's singing, and the shots back to him where he's just like, he's not engaging, he's not even pretending to sort of to enjoy it for his sister. Do you know what I mean? He's not even there like giving a sympathetic smile or whatever. It's just that bass performance from him was amazing. I wrote, as soon as it started, I wrote Patrick Bateman, and it gave me that idea of like American Psycho. Mm-hmm. And then as the performer, as he like moves forward, at first I just thought he was like psychotic and just a bit of a prick. That was like the idea that I got from him. And then as the character unravels, and it's all down to Fassbender, like you see that he's damaged, there's trauma, that kind of thing. And I thought that was really well done. And just the interactions with his mate, like who he works with and stuff, like in the bar, watching him, knowing that he's going to balls it up and knowing that lass is going to have absolutely no interest in him. I wasn't really watching her. Sorry, I wasn't watching him, like his mate. I was watching Fassbender and the lass the entire time, and the way that she just didn't take her eyes off him. Every time Fassbender spoke, and as we all were, our eyes drawn to him. I also wrote just quickly, just because I didn't have a 10 thing talking about the dong shot. It must be the quickest in film history. I think we were about 20 seconds into the film, a minute at most, and it was there. But yeah, it was.
He said it so emotionally.
Well, it's just a matter of fact, it was there. Yeah, he was
That was
brilliant.
delivered like Patrick Stewart in Extras, and then her clothes fell off. And I seen everything, and it was there. It was so like matter of fact, and then it was there.
It was. It wasn't, it was just there. And we couldn't take our eyes away from it. Yeah, and then obviously the end. Sorry, like spoilers, just to jump forward, but the actual end with Carey Mulligan where he finds her in the bathroom, like, and that comparison between the threesome and the facial expression there, where it was just sort of lost to that was incredible, absolutely amazing. And obviously we'll get to Carey Mulligan shortly.
Well, let's get straight on to Carey Mulligan then.
All right, yeah.
Collie, do you want to?
Or Michelle, as I called her, because I was like, oh, it's Michelle Williams. Then I looked at my notes, I was like, no, it's Carey Mulligan. So I don't know why I got them confused. That's why I called her
Same
Michelle.
difference.
And I was like, and then I scrolled down, I was like, that's the cast list. I was like, where's Michelle Williams? Oh no, it's Carey Mulligan.
To be fair, they do look alike, don't they? Like,
like I just googled it. I was like, why did I get them confused? And they look very similar.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, yeah, amazing. I thought the scene where you can hear it at the start, when she's yeah. So the scene where he's listening to her on the phone to obviously her boyfriend or whatever, and it's desperate, and you can hear it through, and then it actually cuts to her sitting on like the windowsill doing it, and just her face is like full on like begging. And there was a reviewer of this, or like a person that had watched this, like a psychiatrist, sorry. She was saying it's one of her favorite ever performances of somebody that's got like borderline personality disorder.
oh wow.
It's just so damaged, similar to my Fassbender, and similar to the points that you were both making about him being damaged. Like, she's just as much damaged, and she's just as fucked up. There was kind of, in some of the reviews, people were like insinuating that it was like incest between them, but like not, like they didn't sleep together, but it was like sexual the way they were around each other. But I felt like that was them just being like no boundaries, and that's how they were obviously raised and stuff, and they're two broken people, so it's not sexualized or whatever, but it's just kind of, this is how they are around one another.
It's like open family, isn't it? Like they're
exactly. It's not normal, but it's not. It's their normal.
Yeah.
But no, I thought she was brilliant. The scene which you touched on, Todd, when she was singing, the bit of trivia about that, it's it was shot at 3:00 in the morning, and there was cameras on all three of them at the same time, and that was the first time that Dale and Fassbender had heard her sing. So it's all like legit reactions and stuff. I thought it was really good. She's got a really nice voice as well. I presume it was her singing.
It was.
a really nice voice. Just to touch on that, but yeah, and then a lot of it was with her voice in this film. Like I say, like you could hear her through the door. Obviously, then you are showing her, but all the phone calls and stuff throughout the film, and she's just desperate for like his validation, or like his like sign off that she's doing well and that she's successful and that she's a good person. And one of the quotes is when she says, "We're not bad people, we just come from a bad place." I thought that was very powerful. But no, just a great performance from her. And very similar to when you're saying like Fassbender and McQueen had trust. I think this was quite out of the box for her, but because it was Steve McQueen, I think she fully trusted him and just went full on with it. Her and Fassbender had like that sofa, got our TV like sitting on the sofa conversation. That was like 6 minutes, so it was kind of a director's, not signature, but just something that he likes doing, is putting people there and having a conversation. Thought that was really, really good as well. No, solid, absolutely solid.
It's interesting you say, but obviously the trust that she had in McQueen as well, because I believe that was like her first nude like scene as well. So like again, having the trust for the director who you've not worked with before, I don't believe, is it just shows that sort of trusting. There was another part that like it's interesting you say about the incest side of things, because I was the same as you. I thought it was like the open side, kind of like open about sexuality and stuff like that, and obviously too open, which obviously is part of the film. But there's the moment when I think is it when she walks in on him like wanking, and then he's in a towel, and he like kind of like it almost starts off as a play fight, and he like kind of like mounts her and stuff as well, but then actually gets angry at her as well. And like there's like no, like that could have easily been if it was going down the incest route, kind of went towards the sexuality side of things, but there was no inkling of that whatsoever. And I think that was almost like the part where I was like, yeah, there's none of that. There's no sexual feeling towards each other. It's just that they're sexual people were able to like kind of talk about that and we're open about
Yeah, like when she
sexuality
gets in his bed, it's a comfit thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then what you said with the sofa thing, she's like got her head on his shoulder and stuff as well. And as you say, it's like the comfort side of things. So yeah, I completely agree. I think as well that the singing scene where the fact that it's basically just on her face as well, like I thought that was so powerful. And yeah, I thought her performance was great as well. Absolutely. Todd, thoughts on Michelle Williams?
She was fun. Yeah, she was brilliant, Kerry Mulligan. She was the couch scene for me was the big one. That was so for me. Like
I thought Michael Fassbender was the big one.
The biggest.
Oh god! And it was there.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Can we just clip that and just have that as like a little soundbite?
Oh god!
Yeah, like he wasn't playing it at any point. I don't think he was genuinely raging from the second like she walked in that bathroom, like where she was having a laugh with it, and that change in her tone was amazing. But I'm with you. I didn't feel anything sexual between them at all. Like it was.
You didn't feel anything sexual.
Well, I thought like between them, like it didn't like. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't get that impression at all. When he kicks her out of the bed as well was devastating. Like she just needs something, and I think I didn't see the ending coming, but I should have, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I should have. I feel like you're given all these sort of like hints about she needs something and she's not getting it, and the one person she needs it from is a brother, and it just builds and builds. That voicemail that she leaves him was devastating, and I think to have it over such a soulless like scene that you know of the three of them with that voicemail over the top was a masterstroke. But again, it was delivered perfectly. You shouldn't use that word, should I? Not when we're talking about shame. No. I'm going to stop talking. Like I'm sick of putting my foot in my mouth there. No,
They
but
did
yeah,
that
it was. It was. She was brilliant. She was brilliant.
Goodness me.
I think she's. I mean, she's a phenomenal actress in her own right. I just put that out there. But like in terms of you've got Fassbender doing career best stuff with Hunger Straight into Shame. Like this is one of the best I've seen her in as well. I thought she was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Collie, you were also saying about James Badge Dale and getting to see a bit more of what he can do. So do you want to talk about him a bit and what your thoughts were on
it's not too much to say on him, but I just thought it was quite good that he's obviously Fassbender's boss. That's the kind of dynamic that I got. But he looks up to Fassbender as well in terms of a character, like when they're out and he's looking for his validation of, should I go for it to go and speak to these girls at the bar and stuff, and he's like a pretender kind of character. He's just trying to emulate what he sees Fassbender do, and obviously comes up short. And then Fassbender ends up going with that blonde lassie that he was after and stuff. But I just thought it was different from him. Mm-hmm. Like one of the main like acting roles I've seen him in before is in Iron Man 3 when he's the kind of right hand man of Guy Pearce and stuff like that. So just kind of a bit of a not cheesy, but not hammy either. But it's a Marvel like villain, you know, like kind of thing. So I thought this was good. I thought it was just interesting to see him play a bit of a more like overconfident but vulnerable character. And I thought it was just there's only really two main characters in this film. But I thought he was just a good little insert into the cast there.
There was a moment with him and Fassbender that I thought was really interesting. It showed their dynamic as well as when they find on his work computer when there's like all this stuff, and he's like adamant that it's someone's hacked into his computer and things. He doesn't even think for a second that Fassbender's the one that did it, and it shows that thing, doesn't it? Like as you say, he's the boss, but he obviously looks to Fassbender as as the person that he looks up to, and that wouldn't do like things like have all those I think it was like crazy Brazilian porn or something like that. I think it was on there. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting point of a point of the relationship. Todd, do you want anything about Mr. Dale?
Not particularly. Like you say, I've just had a look through his IMDb there, just because off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you where I've seen him. And there's a number of films I've seen him in, but he's always sort of fourth or fifth down the bill, if not like a little bit lower. So yeah, it was good. I think it sort of give you that impression of like the type of people that they are. That they're obviously in their mid-30s, and are still like out and about, like trying to be the young 20-something type of lads. Do you know what I mean? That sort of idea of yeah, like on the pickup and like treating women in the way that they do, and like I think he was a really good sort of not a narrative device, but it worked in that way that we know what type of people they are because he was there. Yeah,
absolutely. You talk about cinematography. Any shots that stood out for yourselves? I mean, Todd, I've seen yourself nodding there. Do you want to?
The big one for me, like he's so like I know obviously cinematography and stuff different the direction, but it's such patient filmmaking, and it's a trend right the way through most of his films. Where like he takes that time on the shot. So it was on the subway with the last that he's like sort of there's no dialogue, just making eyes with, and I wrote it, her leg, his face, her face, hands. And like that went, the shots, each one, boom, 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 was about 3 minutes long of just like no dialogue, very little expression or like any sort of notion of what they want. It was just these are the people, this is what they're doing, and it was amazing. And the other one for me is the scars on Carey Mulligan's arm. That could have been introduced a lot earlier. Like again, show don't tell about like could have been talking about remember when you used to. Or like, do you know what I mean? Talking about self-harm in some way, shape, or form. Again, this isn't the first time that she's done this. They were like, they're heavy scars. They're old scars, but they're like thick on her arm. So you can see it's not the first time this has happened. You'd like to think that Fassbender's character would have recognised it, and that for me was really powerful. But I just love that he takes so much time on the shots. Yeah.
Collie?
Yeah, the Fassbender in the rain, I thought, like when he's just full on in despair and just broken, shows himself being broken. I thought that was really powerful as well. Just more from from Fassbender's perspective, like it was a really strong showing of that. But I thought just the shot of him in the rain and he's so downtrodden and stuff, I thought was really, really well done.
Yeah. Definitely. For me, there was a shot where he's in the bed, and he's almost just out of frame a little bit. And there's like a massive space between him and he's like got his arm out, and there's like a massive space between where someone should be, I suppose, on the bed, and it kind of looks like that for a while. And again, for me, that was showing the fact that that's missing in his life, and it's not the emotional. He doesn't have that emotional side of things. And it stays on that for a wee while. It's not like minutes at a time, but it's like a good 30 seconds, which is longer than it probably should have been, but like it made it like even more impactful, I thought. That was something that stood out for me. And of course the room as well that he goes with the lassie from his work, like with all the glass windows, and you know he's obviously not able to with her, but then he does with like an escort.
It's quite a famous hotel that apparently in real life.
Yeah, and I was reading that apparently the like folk go there now and like show off essentially.
Yeah.
Which is
and then there was a couple that fell from the window because the window gave in and they died.
Oh my goodness!
No way!
Wow. I will definitely visit there next time I'm there.
Saying that, I've only got two more bits of trivia, and then I'm fine to score it. So. I'll just read it straight from IMDb. Comment on his full frontal nudity shots. Fassbender said in a 2011 interview with Vulture, "It just baffles me. Women can parade around naked all the time, but the guy conveniently has his pants on. I remember my mum always complaining about that to me, saying this is such bullshit. It's always the women who are naked. So I did this one for you, mum." But like as part of that IMDb, it was is the first time Fassbender seen it. It was with his dad, but his mum didn't come along that time, thankfully. And then the last one was during an Oscars roundtable. Fassbender said that when he pees into the toilet, he really did it, and then Clooney asked him how many times he had to do it on camera, and he was like 3 times. He just obviously had to keep hydrating and then peeing into the toilet. That was like talking about shots. That was quite interesting. That it's that like shot in the corner, and it's him going round and round the room, and it's almost just like that's his routine.
The cycle,
That's his routine. Yeah, the cycle exactly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was just those couple of bits of trivia that I want to touch on.
Yeah. Before we go to scoring, I just want to say, Collie, that poster for Shame that you had on Letterboxd.
So it's a banned Hungarian poster. It's a banned Hungarian poster. Yeah.
It's vile. Like, it's horrible.
Oh, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's
We'll tweet a picture of it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're allowed to. It's
sensitive.
Yeah, it's a back, isn't it, or something? And it's like
some lassie's back and Shame spelled out in cum, pretty much. Yeah. But just talking about Letterboxd, the two most popular reviews, if either of you read them.
No.
One's big dicks cause big problems, and the other one is, oh, whoops, I dropped my monster condom that I use on my magnum dong.
Die DeVito.
Yeah.
Just on the point of Sunny, you've watched it, Massey, haven't you? You've seen Sunny through.
How dare you? How dare you?
There's the song in it. It's a song that I've only ever heard in Sunny. And it's in this film. It's the da da da, and it completely took me out of this film. Totally, like I was.
Because it's when they're all dancing. When is it not? When they go the bar, the expensive bar, and it's that's Mac, Dennis, and Frank, and they're like sort of dancing. yeah,
and just like doing the move, like it threw me for a loop. Yeah, that absolutely.
I heard that as well.
Yeah. I'm pleased. I'm pleased you made that connection there, Collie. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. Thank you.
Oh god. Right. Okay. Scores. Collie, again, take us away. What did you score? Shame.
It's just a 4.5 for me. I bumped it up a half a star after my last watching of it, just because it's a taboo subject, but like loads of powerful performances and just a really well directed film.
I'll go next. So I scored it 4 stars, but I think it's one of those again where I've spoken about it. It could easily go up to 4.5 for me. So I'll definitely watch it again. Todd?
4.5 for me, but it's one of them that on repeated rewatches will probably go up.
Good stuff. Perfect.
Hey guys, we talked about Hunger and Shame a little bit more than we'd anticipated. Just wanted to make sure we're giving it, its dues when it comes to discussing it and that. So we're actually going to be splitting our Steve McQueen episodes into 2 parts. So this will be the end of part 1, and part 2 will be with you shortly, which we're going to be discussing 12 Years a Slave, Widows, and Blitz.